Frankenstein, vampires, and werewolves. Oh my. The Munsters premiered during a time of civil unrest, so sitcoms didn't reflect on death or war. We wanted to think about anything other than the horrors happening in Vietnam. This would prompt a slew of shows that depicted a fantasy-like world, with genies, witches, martians, monsters, and more. But this monstrous family dealt with average problems and considered themselves normal middle class, which made the tension between neighbors and strangers relevant to anyone that's ever felt left out. This show was what we needed in 1964. Although it only ran for just 2 seasons, more than 50 years later, it's still a beloved show that many people still look back on today. I'm your host, Nostalgic Nick from Do You Remember? And today we're looking back at the cast of the Munsters to see what they did after getting out of makeup. If it's not too scary, click that thumbs up button for us. And make sure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our next throwback video. But without further ado, let's hit it. Fred Gwynne, Herman Munster. The patriarch of the family may look menacing, but he had a childlike innocence and a heart of gold, with some of the best advice you could hear.
Black or yellow or white, it doesn't matter. What does matter is the size of your heart.
Before getting involved in acting, Gwynne served in the US Navy as a radio man on a submarine chaser. After the war, he attended Harvard, where he was a member of the Fly Club, sang with an a cappella group, and was a cartoonist for the Harvard Lampoon, eventually becoming its president, all the while acting in plays. Wow. Gwynne's first television appearance was in 1952 on the Philco Television Playhouse. But besides a great guest spot on the Phil Silvers Show in 1955, he didn't really hit the lottery until 1961's Car 54, Where Are You? Then it was time to strap on the foam rubber padding of Herman Munster.
Nobody here is listening to me, and if nobody listens to me, I'm gonna storm right up to my room.
Due to massive sweating from the suit, Fred would drink large amounts of lemonade, but still lost quite a bit of weight during the show. Beyond the Munsters, a highlight of his was 1989's Pet Sematary, and who could forget his and Joe Pesci's hysterical back and forth when Fred played the judge in My Cousin Vinny.
Did you say Utes?
Outside of acting, though, he was a professional singer. He painted and wrote and illustrated children's books. Sadly, Gwynne died from complications of pancreatic cancer in 1993, 8 days short of his 67th birthday. My personal favorite memory of Herman Munster is when he gave crucial and timeless life lessons to his son, Eddie. YVONNE CARLO, Lily Munster. The matriarch of the family ran the household and was the perfect straight face, opposite Herman's silly antics. Lily Munster was a vampire, but she was so elegant and beautiful to watch, and that's because she was already a movie star. After the pilot was filmed, CBS execs insisted on recasting Lily Munster, and DiCarlo brought with her spot-on comedic timing, but also a little bit of prima donna attitude.
Is that so? And what line were you in when they passed out the brains?
Supposedly, Fred Gwynne and Al Lewis finally had a sit-down with DiCarlo, and she became more cooperative. DiCarlo got her start in Hollywood all the way back in 1941, and a few years of uncredited parts finally led her to a breakthrough role in 1945's Salome, Where She Danced.
He was her man, but he done her wrong.
She was a star, and one of her biggest roles was being part of Cecil B. DeMille's biblical epic, The Ten Commandments, playing Sephora, Moses' wife. YVONNE reprised her Lily in the feature film Munster Go Home in 1966, and the television film The Munsters' Revenge in '81. YVONNE, her best-selling autobiography, was published in 1987. Sadly, she was plagued with health issues during her later years, suffering a stroke in 1998. In January 2007, she died of heart failure, but she will live on through her incredible body of work. Al Lewis, Grandpa. Al Lewis may be best known for this role as the famous Count Dracula look-alike, simply known as Grandpa. He was a riot on the Munsters, his laugh perfectly encompassing the mad scientist vibe.
I think I'll grab something later in the laboratory.
Al also had extensive history with vampires, with his very first credit being 1957's Lust of the Vampire. Then he got a semi-regular role in the TV series Naked City in 1959,
Usual shiny dime?
before joining forces with Herman Munster, but not at 1313 Mockingbird Lane. First, he teamed up with Fred Gwynne as Officer Leo Schnauzer in Car 54, Where Are You? Beyond the Munsters, Al kept working. He's great as the judge in the 1980 Kurt Russell-led comedy Used Cars. Al worked right up until he was 79 years old. He was also a restaurant owner, political candidate, and even a radio broadcaster. He passed away in February 2006 of natural causes at age 82. He was cremated and apparently had his ashes placed in his favorite cigar box. Grandpa Munster, always keeping things interesting right to the end. Beverly Owen, the original Marilyn Munster. Marilyn for the first 13 episodes. Beverly agreed to do the show thinking it would be a flop from the outlandish premise, but after its success, being away from her fiancé in New York proved too tough, so she left the sitcom to marry John Stone, who went on to help produce Sesame Street. Ironically, Beverly Owen would get divorced from John Stone 10 years later and would never reach anything close to the Munsters' success. Her biggest non-Munster role was in the Audie Murphy-led 1964 flick Bullet for a Bad Man. She ultimately took a different career path and went on to pursue her studies in early American history. She kept quiet through most of her life, and the world was shocked to learn that she died from ovarian cancer in 2019. Eddie Munster actor Butch Patrick released a statement, quote, "What a sweet soul. I had the biggest crush on her." Butch Patrick. Eddie Munster, the youngin' of the family, who somehow is a werewolf despite having a Frankenstein look-alike and a vampire for parents. When asked how he landed the role of Eddie, Butch recalled, quote, "I had a lot of experience, but maybe it was because my fangs were my own teeth. Even when I closed my mouth, they stuck out." He made his TV debut in 1961, and by 63, he had a regular role on the TV show The Real McCoys. Then came his Munsters success at just 11 years old, and the 70s continued Butch's wild ride, with a role in a wild show, Sid and Marty Krofft's Saturday morning children's program, Lidsville. In the early 80s, Butch as Eddie Munster recorded a pop record to the tune of the Munsters theme, titled Whatever Happened to Eddie. And if you haven't seen the entire video, you should watch it. In 2011, Butch announced that he had been diagnosed with prostate cancer, but today at 67 years old, he's doing well. After dabbling a little too much in drugs and alcohol, he's clean and sober and actually still acting, mostly in low-budget flicks or shorts. But hey, keep at it, Butch. Pat Priest, the second Marilyn Munster. Pat Priest looks so much like the original Marilyn actress Beverly Owen, most viewers never knew the swap occurred. Marilyn was Herman and Lily's niece, and was the only member of the family who had a normal appearance. And although she was beautiful, the running gag on the show was that she was keenly aware just how ugly or plain she was, compared to her ghoulish relatives. Priest worked as a singer and actress on local television stations in her early years, but really hit it big time in 1964 with the Munsters, as well as a role on the hit show Perry Mason. She would also appear in the film Easy Come, Easy Go with Elvis Presley in 1967. Priest retired from acting in 1976. She began restoring and selling homes in Idaho, where she lived for over 2 decades. In 2001, Priest was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, but was able to finish treatments and has been in remission since. And at 84 years old, she still attends nostalgia conventions that feature Munsters memorabilia. What a show. It's hard to believe that this wholesome, fantasy-filled show only ran for 2 seasons, but a total of 70 episodes. Who is your favorite character from the Munsters? Do you remember a specific episode's plotline? What's another great show from the 70s that we should do a video on? Let us know in the comments. We read them all. And if you enjoyed this cast rewind, it would mean the world to us if you would like this video and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss a single memory. From all of us here at Do You Remember, thanks for watching.